Secret Savings, just the leader from All Our Mob, and Larry Cassidy on Secret Savings for the Doncaster.
Spartacus wins the Mellow well. Marble Halls can't pick him up, and Yippee-Yo-Yo wins a great derby.
Straight at the 500, second coming, picks up the tempo here. He'll turn a length and a half in front of Mustang Red, who's now called on and under the whip. Calistair makes ground, then Encounter, and here's Tie the Knot with a run. Down to the 300, second coming, led 3 lengths. Tie the Knot and Calistair are running on strongly, and then came Schubert. Second coming in front, Tie the Knot starting to reel him in with Calistair, and they're well clear from Gold Guru. Tie the Knot after second coming. The Bolter second coming a length in front. Tie the Knot wearing away, but second coming's got him beat. Second coming's going to win the Amy Victoria Derby. Second coming by 2.5 lengths. Second, Tie the Knot. Third, Calistair. Behemoth charged home.
Week's a long time in racing. Sandy Lacey last week, and now you've won the Victorian Derby today.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose if you have an up-going round, Simon, things can change. But yeah, we sort of woke up this morning thinking, oh, well, we're a stayer's chance in the race, but to think we could come here and win it, we thought we were probably one of 3 or 4 that would get the distance at least, but whether we're good enough was questionable.
Yes, an upset in the Amy Victoria Derby for 1997, an all-the-way win to second coming. The Sydney side at Tie the Knot gave one hell of a big yelp, but was being safely held in the last 50 metres. This is our special Melbourne Cup edition of the Racing Show, coming to you, of course, from GTV Studios in Melbourne. And, well, we've got a big enough panel here to form a cast for a remake of Gone with the Wind. First of all, Shane Dye, obviously, even though you won a race on Ebony Grove, disappointed with Encounter in the Derby.
Yeah, he pulled a little bit hard early, which was always going to be the case if you know the horse. I thought he would relax the way he's been racing, but I couldn't get him to relax early, and he pulled a bit hard and just didn't see the journey out.
Would that be a result of the Cox Plate the previous week when you stoked him up early to come across and then you had to fire him up again in the middle stages?
Well, he come across easy in the Cox Plate. I never moved on him, and I've never bustled him out of the gates, and I didn't bustle him yesterday. He just got over racing.
Got a bee in his bonnet. Now, what about the track as far as Encounter was concerned?
Handled it beautiful. He likes the sting out of it. He was on the best part of the track. He was on the inside. There was just no excuse.
Well, somebody who might have something to say about the Flemington track yesterday is my old mate Kenny Callender.
Yeah, g'day, John. John, I'm a great admirer of Victorian racing. Everyone from the government to the bloke that sells papers on the street corner gets behind racing in Victoria. It's fabulously promoted, but the track they served up yesterday was an absolute farce, a complete joke. Excuse me. Tumut picnics were on yesterday, and I'm sure the punters there were presented with a better track to bet on than the punters were presented at Flemington. For officials of the VRC to say that there's nothing wrong with the track is an insult to the blokes who pay the $18 at the gate. It was a complete joke. If you were 3 wide in the home straight, you couldn't win. Blokes have spent all year to get a horse for Derby Day, and then they're put up with that. They're going to have to do something. I'd put the rail out on Tuesday, but of course they'll be too stubborn. They won't.
Well, Lee Friedman had plenty of runners yesterday, including the Wakeful Stakes winner. How did you feel about the track?
I don't know about going with the win. Kenny sounds like he's gone in the win.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in an unenviable situation, but it was quite obvious, I think, to all the professionals that if you weren't on the fence, you couldn't win. I think Shane will back that up.
Definitely. Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, when they turned for home in all races, you immediately looked to the fence to find the winner.
It changes the shape of the races. Blokes start doing things on horses they didn't want to do, and, you know, it's difficult.
This is a smart filly. You've got Kensington Palace. She just bolted away with the Wakeful. She'll be nice and short in the Oaks on Thursday.
Yeah, I thought it was a good effort. She's probably one of the only horses all day to come out that wide and be competitive. And as soon as Damien got her to the front, you'll notice he lets her get the 2 clear and then goes back to the fence, and that was a smart move, I think.
Well, a fair-minded man who measures his words carefully on most issues, racing or politically, is Simon O'Donnell. What do you think of the track?
Well, I thought it was probably circular, it was green. And after what Kenny said, I'm actually going to have a crack at the presidency of the Tumut Race Club, because I reckon they're going to have an enormous cup meeting up there next year.
Oh, you'd make a great club
I suppose the punter was disappointing, and you do want something. People prepare all year for this one day or 1 week, and let's hope Tuesday we have a real even day.
Well, as you know, the main reason we're here today is to help you find the winner of the Melbourne Cup, and historically Melbourne Cup winners come from the McKinnon Stakes, or quite a number of them have. So let's pick up the action in yesterday's McKinnon, and again, that wonderful tracking shot, you feel as though you're sitting on their backs.
Yeah, you certainly do. Iterarm's the horse setting the pace and the big name in the race, Volante. Istedad just sitting behind him in the blinkers and the blue and white colours. Marble Halls, you see their lead just on the outside, in the running line, or in the lane, as we'd say, just about, and holds his own very well.
Look at the green cap. Look at the green cap coming along the fence. That's Shane Dye on Ebony Grove. He's about to switch between a couple of these leaders. Couldn't believe he could beat these so easily.
It was an excellent ride by Shane Dye. Darren Beedman on Dane Ripper, the heavily backed one, was out where you couldn't possibly win. If you backed Dane Ripper, you did your money cold.
This horse won very easy, Ken. I didn't knock him about. It was a very soft win, and I know the horse backwards. And as I've always stated, on his day, he's just unbeatable, and yesterday was his day.
Could never take anything away from Shane's ride. Ken, I agree. There was quite a few runs yesterday where horses got through along the inside, which you don't see at Flemington a lot. Prairie did earlier on in the day, and you got through on Ebony Grove in big pressure races.
What was
you don't
happening,
often see it.
Horses were tiring, see, and if you can hold up long enough and you get to the clock tower at the furlong and horses start tiring and you're going forward with momentum, you're naturally going to get a run. And that horse there was just going too good. Now, Lee's horse, Marble Halls, had a chance to take the run I did, but he wasn't going good enough and couldn't sprint quick enough. If he had of, he might have won.
That's true.
You impressed with Ebony Grove?
I thought it was a very good win, but I think we've got to keep it in perspective. The fact that Shane probably rode the best ride in the race. He waited and got the rails run, knowing that the rails was by far the best. And my horse, as he said, didn't sprint quickly enough when they went, and couldn't get to the fence. But I thought on the line, his effort, he was going as good as the winner on the line.
Shane, you mentioned something there about Ebony Grove on his day.
Yep.
He really is a moody stallion, is he?
Well, he jarred up very bad in the Craven Plate because the track was just like concrete. He couldn't gallop on it that day. And his run in the Metropolitan was sensational. And he should have run second in the Caulfield Cup, I thought. So he's pretty consistent. But yesterday he was very impressive. He's run third in the Sydney Cup. He's won the AJC Derby. He's going to run the 2 miles out. But he'll be giving them 20, 25 lengths. That's the only problem, and I know that. Now, whether he can pick them up or not, well, we won't know.
Well, Lee, you were probably a little bit flat after the Caulfield Cup regarding Marble Halls, but gee, you got a spark of encouragement yesterday.
Well, I just think the horse, it's always an important 2 weeks between the Caulfield and the Melbourne Cup for horses, because they either go on or they go backwards, and this horse has certainly come on in leaps and bounds. His coat's come right, and I had a look at him this morning. He had a canter, and I think he looks even better today.
Let's have a look at the Caulfield Cup closing stages again. And, well, the one to watch, of course, is the leader, Might and Power. Marble Halls had an impeccable run in the race, didn't he? Well, look at this.
Yeah.
This was freakish this day, but you've got to remember, if he pulls hard in the Melbourne Cup, he can't win. If he relaxes, he just looks the winner.
Now, I must admit, Marble Halls, he had Caulfield Cup over 2,400, and Lee will argue with me. I've had a question mark over his staying ability this year, and I suppose that's more the makeup of the horse. I haven't thought Lee's quite strong enough, and I reckon he'll develop into a better horse next year over that distance.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So come out and say it, he can't win.
I'm putting a question mark over him running 2 miles. There
he can't win?
Well, I don't reckon he ran out the mile and a half. No,
Can he win?
No.
Right.
Lee, it was only 2 weeks ago you said he was too immature to win a Melbourne Cup.
No, the press have all said that. I said he's an immature horse, but I didn't say he couldn't win a Melbourne Cup.
He looks enormous.
The horse looks great.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy Cassidy's the bloke who knows a fair bit about Might and Power. Simon Marshall caught up with him yesterday, and he asked the pumper how well did Might and Power recover after the Caulfield Cup.
Well, he's had a good enough break since the Caulfield Cup, Simon. He's, from what I understand, he's continued to thrive. He's worked well. He's eating well. He's drinking well. He's doing everything that you've got to have going right into the Cup.
The tactics now, you'd like to be left alone somewhere in the running, wouldn't you? The track's racing a little biased here today. It seems to suit on-pace runners and horses on the fence.
Yeah, you know, well, today's Saturday, the Cup's run on Tuesday, so anything can happen between now and then. We could get more rain, we could get no rain. So, you know, a lot can happen between now and Tuesday, but, you know, obviously Ebony Grove today, he's winning the McKinnon, probably deserves to be favourite now.
You can lead on him, you can sit off the pace on him, can't you, Jim?
Well, it's going to be a funny race. 1.5 miles, he was able to do what he liked, and you know, the other jocks are talking about pressure and that sort of thing. I don't really care what they do. I'm just worrying about my horse, and you know, it's going to be a good race, mate.
Well, you come from last on Kiwi in 1983. It'd be nice to lead all the way this year.
Yeah, it would be great, Simon. You know, it's a great race. It's a pressure race, but you know, I'm going into the race confident. I know my horse is fit. He's trained on well, and I wouldn't be swapping him for anything.
Go and have a drink, Jim.
Thanks, Simon. Have one with you after the cup, mate.
No worries.
He moved quickly too.
If there wasn't that slight query about him over racing, pulling, he'd be an even money chance the way he won the Caulfield Cup. You know, you know, that's just the risk, and I don't want all you blokes jumping, or you won't, but you'll be back running near last, but they'll all be yelling out and roaring alongside him, trying to make him pull. But if he can relax, he can just settle, he'll get the prize.
Well, Lee, the question everybody's asking, is Doremus anywhere near as good as he was 2 years ago?
Every bit as. Yeah, it's the first time I've had him that good in 2 years, I reckon. And I think that, strangely enough, the bleeding attack that he had in March forced us to give the horse a good spell, sent him back to Jim Gibbs in New Zealand. And right from his first run this preparation, when he flashed home and ran third in the Memsie Stakes, the horse has been going good.
Right, and a drop of rain, of course.
Well, look, you know, if it got really wet, which I don't think it is, obviously he's the horse to beat. But having said that, the very firm conditions we've had, just that little bit we've had is suffice for that horse. Yeah.
With him now being 7 too, Lee, was that a surprise? You know, a bleeder at such a late age and already had done at Caulfield, Melbourne Cup, had a great record. Did it surprise you he came back so well?
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't, because, I mean, they'll either come back and do it again and you're finished, or if it's a one-off, which it was with him, it was a one-off, and I just think the horse was telling us he was tired and worn out. It was nature's way of saying he wanted a spell, and he had the good spell. Yeah.
Now, Always Aloof raced flat in the Caulfield Cup. Did you find a reason?
Well, look, it's difficult with these sort of horses. Like, he's an imported horse who has been trained away from a racetrack all of his life. He's now being trained conventionally on a racetrack here. Gauging how much work these sort of horses want can sometimes be difficult, and in hindsight now, I think perhaps leading into the Caulfield Cup, the horse did too much, a little bit too much, and too enthusiastic in his work. Now, since then, we've changed his work, and I think the horse is a lot more settled, and look, I really think at Flemington he'll come into his own.
Right. Well, Simon Marshall, doing his usual terrific job yesterday, spoke with some of the beaten jockeys who rode cup horses on the day, including Mick Dittman and Dwayne Dunn.
Mick Markham, was it a good guide for the Cup on Tuesday?
It wasn't too bad, Simon. The race wasn't run to suit him. Like, it was a sit and sprint race, and you know, he was left flat-footed when they went just before the corner. He was out in the wrong lane too, you know, it was probably better back on the inside there, but he got pushed off the track coming to the corner. I didn't think he run too bad.
He seems to be more of a dour stayer. He seems to lack a turn of foot.
There's a bit of give in the ground today too, and I think that if we get no rain between now and Tuesday, we get firmer ground, it'll suit him better. But he certainly races like a dour stayer, and he drops to 52.5 in the Cup, so...
And you'll ride him in the Cup, Mick?
I'll ride him, yes.
Dwayne Sky Bow, did he seem to be left a little flat-footed at the top of the straight?
He travelled up quite well in that race. I was quite surprised for him. He travelled up quite well. That's why I popped out from behind him, and as it looked, the bias in the track seems to be down near the fence, and horses near the speed, although the winner come from back. But I know, I was quite happy with his run. 58.5, he's got to improve a lot.
And how much does he have to improve to sort of run a place like he did last year, third in the Melbourne Cup?
I don't think he really has to improve. I think he'll be getting warm when everything else has had enough. So expect him to finish on as strong, if not stronger, on Tuesday.
Well, let's see if the panel agree with Dwayne Dunn's assessment of Sky Bow, who was placed in the Cup last year. He'll have a lot of sentimental support. Shane?
Can't beat Ebony Grove on their runs.
No, but he might run 2 mile better than Ebony Grove. Ebony Grove didn't really hit the line in the Sydney Cup when he ran third, and this horse's run last year was fabulous, and he's going just as good now as he was then. If you can make up ground out in the middle of the track, he's not hopeless.
Can run 2 mile. That's what I like about it. He's proven over it.
I ran second to Saintly last year with a horse that was probably the worst weighted horse in the race, and that horse ran third, and the only thing that got them into the placings was the fact that they were genuine 2 milers. That's what this horse is.
What about Markham, Lee?
Well, look, he's a nice horse, but I query the form. You know, the South Australian Derby wasn't strong. His run in the Caulfield Cup was all right.
Yeah, the other query is running the distance. I thought his run in the Caulfield Cup, as Lee said, was okay.
Right. I'll be very interested to hear the panel's opinion of a horse called Alpha, trained by Bart Cummings, Darren Beedman the rider. His form's been patchy of late. In fact, he hasn't won for quite a while.
Well, Kenny Callander, you've had a lot to say, and the Sydney horses are better than the Melbourne. Can Alpha win the Melbourne Cup?
Simon, he won 10 of his first 12. He hasn't won in the next 9. He's had a bowed tendon. He disappointed in the Cox Plate. If Bart Cummings didn't train him, he'd be 33-1. But Bart does train him.
Bart does train him, and I'll tell you what, I'm not going to listen to you, because yesterday I caught up with Darren Beedman and had a few words to him about what he thought and how he felt. And this is what he had to say.
Darren, Melbourne Cup Tuesday, you're on Alpha. This time last year, you had a feeling that Saintly was going to be the horse. Have you got the same feeling in 1997?
Sure have, mate. Yeah, I've rode him work his last 3 mornings, and he's just got stronger and stronger, and you know, I feel confident going into the race.
He's telling you he can run 2 miles?
He's not actually telling me, but I can feel it.
Getting too much on.
He's got that devilish grin.
Well,
okay.
He's got a bloke talking to him from above. I didn't know the horses were speaking to him too.
On that note, we'll go to break on the racing show, and we'll have a look at Markham's Derby win in Adelaide earlier this year.
Derobay out after Beechwood Road as they straighten. They're 2 or 3 in front. Lord Ted into the clear, and down the outside King's Landing. It's Derobay, and on the inside battling on Beechwood Road, and now Markham starting to extend the filly. Derobay just in front, but Markham's got her. Markham raced up on the outside, and it's Markham's Derby. Markham wins the Malaysia Airlines SA Derby for 97 by 2.5. King's Landing a bold second.
Comes to the best sport and racing. There's only one radio station that delivers. Canberra's Good Sports 103.9 Triple S FM. Join the Good Sports each weekday morning from 6 and start your day with the right mix of sport, talk, music and fun. If you want that winning feeling, be part of the National Racing and Sporting Services 103.9 Triple S FM takes you racing across Australia from midday, where you won't miss a thing. The best sport and racing on Canberra's Good Sports 103.9 Triple S FM.
And now on the inside, Frankie says go on Arabian Story, and the grey boots away by 3 lengths now. Rocky Oasis is out after the leader. Here's Harbour Dews, who gets a run now and is setting sail after this leader as well, followed by Give Me a Ring. Further back is Ho Express, Romeos and Arte Curia. Inside the 2 though, and it's Arabian Story, 2 lengths in front for Frankie. Under the whip is Harbour Dews in second. A long gap then to Ho Express, followed by Arte Curia, but coming up with a furlong left to go. It looks like we've got a royal winner on Vodafone Derby Day, as Arabian Story stretching out nicely makes all to win the Backnet Rated Stakes handicap. Frankie stealing a peep, no danger. Arabian Story wins it by 4. In second is Harbour Dews, followed by Ho Express third, and a long...
Yes, Her Majesty's horse Arabian Story winning at Epsom on Derby Day back in June. That's the first time we've actually seen footage of a very fluently actioned imported stallion who's here for the Melbourne Cup on Tuesday. Well, Simon Marshall was our foreign correspondent this morning out at the Sandown Quarantine Station. Good to see you back on the show, Simon. And how did they look?
Both horses look fantastic, actually, John. Arabian Story, Her Majesty the Queen's horse, with Lanfranco de Torre to come over and ride. They both worked, and also Harbour Dews. They both worked, at first they cantered 1 lap, and they both worked over 7 furlongs. They looked mighty fine. They weren't out to do too much. They both pulled up very well. Arabian Story was tucked away very quickly after he worked, whereas Harbour Dews, he walked for another 20 minutes after his work, and he looked very relaxed, and for my mind, he was the pick.
Pity they don't have walking races for horses. He'd be a certainty.
Yes, that's right, Johnny, and I was able to catch up with Arabian Story's trainer in Lord William Huntington, and got his views on our Melbourne Cup. Welcome to Australia, and what can you tell us about Arabian Story?
Well, what can I tell you about him?
The reason I ask is because you've been pretty low-key this year. There hasn't been much press about your horse.
Well, it's probably a good thing, isn't it? And then they want to make their own press on the day rather than have a lot of hype beforehand that only disappoints people. He's been a very solid horse. We thought back at Christmas time that we might end up in the Melbourne Cup either this year or next year, possibly. We had as a target this year, there's a very big, quite valuable 2-mile handicap in England at the end of June, but he won so well on Derby Day that he was then raised £10 and really handicapped out of that race. So that our chances of running over 2 miles before we came here was sort of rather restricted.
Lanfranco de Torre.
Yes.
The instructions for him on the day?
Well, as you well know yourself when you were riding, trainers who give you too many instructions, you don't always listen to, do you? And in the race itself, you can't, you know, monitor everything that happens. You go through a couple of plans, hope it works out, but I mean, if you've got a good jockey, you don't give them too many instructions at all.
The Queen's trainer, Lord Huntington. Now, gentlemen, I've got footage of another race that Arabian Story contested. In fact, his most recent run in September at Newbury, the Arc Trial. Now, he's a line of 4 leaders here, and he looks well and truly beaten. I thought he was going to drop right out of it. The horse on the outside in the blue colours is Swain. This horse won the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth this year.
Yeah, I suppose one of the things you look for in a Melbourne Cup horse is they can just keep working towards the line, and really Arabian Story has in this, but without anything spectacularly.
Well, I mean, it's hard to assess that form. Is it a handicap or a weight for age race? Or
that was a handicap race.
Was it?
Posidonus was the winner.
All right. Well, look, he cannot clearly stay. He can clearly stay.
We're going to get back to the fact that there's only ever been one performed here, Vintage Crop. There's been about 12 or 14 that have come and they haven't
but
performed.
An interesting point, Shane. This is the first year since they're going to get some give in the ground. Yeah. But it'll be a popular win if it wins for the Queen, but I think an unlikely one.
And one of the things I think about English racing, there doesn't seem to be the pressure on that we get in our 2-mile Melbourne Cup here. Horses running so close together, compact fields, and I do think Vintage Crop was special. Dermot Weld has said that over the years, one of the most special horses he's ever had. That's what I think. I think they just get over racing, get nervous. That nervous energy doesn't allow them to stay like they do at home.
Is anyone at this table going to back either of the imported horses?
Well, I'm not allowed to bet, Ken, so I'm not coming into that.
I would put the grey horse perhaps in a trifecta.
On looks, Harbour Dews look fantastic, and he'd be my pick out of the two, but there's not much between them on form.
Frankie Dettori is riding Arabian Story, and he was asked to assess the likelihood of Arabian Story running 3,200 metres.
He always gave us the impression that the mile and 6 be no problem. The race like the Melbourne Cup, you don't need an out-and-out stare or 2-miler. You need the horse with a little bit of class, with a little bit of turn of foot. So he seems to be the ideal horse, but you know, obviously, you know, after you pass the mile and a half, you're going into...
You're going to be thinking about it.
You're going into unknown territory, but like he gave us all the vibes that mile and 6 be, you know, no problem. So 2 miles, I think we
2 furlongs exit, no problem.
We just about get it.
Good on you, Frank, and good to see you back in Melbourne. Well, traditionally, one of the great lead-up races to the Melbourne Cup is the Stockholm Cup, and it was won recently by this horse, Harbour Dews, and the Swedish caller will get a little bit excited as he nominates Harbour Dews going to the lead here in a moment.
Well, they don't look as though they're going that fast, John, getting to the winning post. You know, like, if one of our staying horses was in this, like a Doremus, he would have finished over top of them.
This day they're racing on the bolt.
Yeah, they only got the snow off at 10:30.
Harbour Dews or duty time or number 8.
Yeah, he was giving the tail a swish too in the last 20 or 30 metres. I don't like that.
I think he's after your job, that bloke, too.
Hey, Simon, you rode this imported horse, Court of Honour, in last year's Melbourne Cup, in which he finished a mile back. He's obviously better this year.
That's right, John. He was very new last year and he wasn't ready for the Melbourne Cup. His preparation was a little bit jaded, you could say, but Brenny Thompson rode him a treat in the Grosby Gold Cup this day at Moonee Valley. He gave him the best ride. That's why he won. Linesman, he looked to be beaten a long way from home, didn't he? But look, Court of Honour, I think he found his right race and he had his birthday here at Moonee Valley.
So this race, you've got to remember, is normally won by the best weighted horse, and he was well weighted that day, and horses like Linesman with 57 normally don't win that race.
He meets Linesman about 6 worse, he can't win.
The other cup horse there in the green colours was Yobro, whacking away as he always does.
Yes, well, John, the boys have all got their opinions. So has David Hayes on Court of Honour, and he's over here from Hong Kong. As we go to the break, let's see what he had to say about Court of Honour's chances in the Melbourne Cup.
I watched his work this morning. He worked okay, but probably not one of our best chances in recent years. And today, I thought the McKinnon Stakes threw out a couple of good guides. I like Marble Hall's run. I didn't think Damien was didn't have much luck in the straight and didn't do a lot on him.
Ebony Grove is into the clear now and is giving them about 7 lengths as they come over the rise, where Linesman is a mile in front. Linesman by about 4 lengths to Nothing Like a Dane. Ebony Grove down the middle of the track. Estadard is battling away, but Linesman in the Harry Lawton colours is 6 lengths in front of Ebony Grove and Nothing Like a Dane. He's a fair dinkum, genuine stayer, Linesman. He could go around again. Linesman bolts away with the Sydney Cup. Nothing Like a Dane has come again to get second. Ebony Grove dying on his run third.
Gay Linesman in the Melbourne Cup, well weighted, obviously fit, proven over 2 miles. You must be confident.
I'm very confident, but confidence doesn't win the races. The horses win the races and the jockeys. I'm very happy with my horse going into Tuesday's event. I'm happy to have Larry Cassidy ride him, and I think we've got a fabulous chance.
It's a tough race. There's a lot of great chances in it. What do you see as your main dangers?
I think it is a very tough race. I suppose you'd have to say Doremus. We've had a bit of rain and he'll appreciate the sting out of the ground. He's a proven Group 1 performer over 2 miles. I think the rest of them are pretty even Stevens.
John, you summed it up, John, when you said he's a fair dinkum genuine stayer at the finish of that Sydney Cup, and that's why he's got a fair dinkum genuine chance on Tuesday.
The thing with this horse is the weight, 52.5 kilos. He hasn't carried this in a long time. He's been up carrying 57. And he's going to be on the pace, he's going to be in front or in the first 2 or 3 turning for home, and at the furlong, it's just the last bit whether something runs over him.
What do you think of Linesman, Simon?
Well, same as we said earlier in the show, if he's proven over 2 mile. Any horse that's proven over 2 mile must be given a chance in the Melbourne Cup.
Lee?
Yeah, it's a definite chance.
Always a pleasure to have Paul O'Sullivan on a racing program. He's been very gracious with his time for the many years that he's been travelling to Australia, and he's here looking after a damn good horse called Viali. Paul, lovely to have you on the panel.
Yes, good morning.
This is a touch of freak about this horse, Viali, to do what he did in the Cox Plate and to be a realistic possibility in the Melbourne Cup. How's he done since the Cox Plate?
Yeah, his work's been very good. Well, in fact, his work's been a little bit mixed. I worked him myself on Thursday morning, and you know, he looked more suited to the Cup Day hurdle than the Melbourne Cup. But we had a change of jockey Saturday morning at Sandown, and the jockey factor really came into it. Brian York rode him, and his work was absolutely first class, and I think as well as he's worked in the 2 years that we've had him.
Down the outside in the green colours, he's a lovely chestnut horse, and he doesn't shirk his task here.
Well, we discussed tactics at some length with Simon Marshall prior to the running, and said to Simon, I thought the only problem he might have is have a little bit enough zip to finish it off. You know, Cox Plate horses have to have that little bit of acceleration, but in all his races he's found the line very strongly. He comes back to 55, 5 kilos underweight for age, and although he's unproven at the distance, we have no great fears about it. Paul, he's only had 2 runs this time in. Does that worry you? That's certainly going to be the burning question. It's a somewhat unorthodox preparation, but I don't think anybody's written a textbook on how to win a Melbourne Cup, and I think it's been proven in the last sort of 3 or 4 or 5 years that you don't have to have that grinding, you don't have to run on the Saturday to win the Cup, and I think the English horses coming over, we've seen that with them, and those sort of tactics have been adopted out. I think a different type of horse wins the Melbourne Cup nowadays. The old 2-miler who was nearly a hurdler doesn't win it anymore. It's a horse with quality, a horse with acceleration, and these horses don't stand up for that sort of training or racing. So yes, an unorthodox preparation, but he's going to the Cup, I think, as fit as we can get him.
Paul, that preparation being unorthodox, taking that into account, you've drawn barrier 18. Would I be right in saying you've probably got to take a posse midfield and further back to get some cover to get him to attempt to run that 2 mile?
Yes, that's an awkward question. He's a horse, I think, that if he'd drawn it early, he could naturally have taken a forward position. I think that the Cup will be impossible to win for him if he sits 3 deep. He's got to get in somewhere, and we got the visitors' draw, but I can't blame anybody because I pulled it out myself. I've had 3 goes at this on barred now. But yeah, he's got to get one off the fence. Now, where he finds that one off the fence, if he can get it, whether it's forward, back, wherever, that's up to be York.
Yeah. Will he relax?
Well, he's only really raced, we've only had him running over 2,000 metres, and every time we've sort of dropped our hands and I'm asked him to come back, he's done that very well. The tempo, naturally enough, is going to be half a second slower, a furlong, and that does make a big difference to a racehorse. We've just got to hope he relaxed. I think he would have relaxed a long way better with an inside draw.
Paul, I'd value your opinion about other New Zealand horses. Now, Sapio, he's the most raced horse in the Melbourne Cup field. He's had 60 starts.
Yeah, he's faced the starter a few times. I think, as we discussed before, the type of horse that wins the Melbourne Cup has changed. He's a Group 1 winner in Australia here in the Doomben Cup. He's got 2-mile form. I think his form going into this race is a little more scratchy than what it has been, particularly when he came to Brisbane last year. He ran 4th or 5th in a reasonably moderate handicap last Monday at Te Rapa, and I think the connections would like to have seen him run a little bit better, but proven at the trip and has